What's up next?
Hey, Scott.
Today's topic, perfectionism. Go to liveflow.io/sons. Mixed tips featuring LiveFlow. So we've got a LiveFlow user here on the line, Miss Nicole McKenzie of Momentum Accounting, and she's going to tell us what's so great about LiveFlow, what she loves about it. It changed the game for you a little bit.
Yes, I love it. I'll tell you how I'm using LiveFlow and what I like about it. So I'm using it for a handful of different use cases. Automating month-end close, number one use case. So our process is that the bookkeeper or preparer goes in, does the month-end close. So if you have a prepaid schedule, the prepaid schedule ties the balance sheet. You can automate anything in the GL detail. You can automate AP aging, AR aging. So my goal with the workbooks is so that whoever the accounting manager reviewer is can go in there and review a month-end file in 15 minutes because the bookkeeper has done all the work and done their own self-check.
So that's automation with an exclamation mark.
Yes, it's pretty dope.
Dope books.
Dope books. Okay.
Dopebooks.com.
Second use case. I built out a forecast in Google Sheets and the live data from
No way.
QBO comes in, right? The actuals. So I'm reviewing the accounting and we have to update something. You just literally hit the little button and it refreshes everything. So you can see the numbers change in front of you.
That's true automation.
We finally hacked it and did it. Like, it's so cool.
Wow. You're a programmer.
I'm actually a paying user, so I actually pay LiveFlow to use the product.
Go to liveflow.io/sons. Yeah. It's the truth in advertising and the truth in product feedback. liveflow.io/sons.
I kind of broke it down into perfectionism subcategories. So delegating and then taking on a new challenge.
Sons of CPA's bonus episode where Nix and Scott share a small but useful piece of practical advice as it relates to running their professional accounting firms. This episode is brought to you by the letter P.
Do you think you're a perfectionist?
Oh my God, I fight it. I fight perfectionism in my life intentionally now, but yes, I do think I am.
Really?
Ultimately.
You kind of have like part of you that is ADD where you like order and numbers and organization, but then
OCD.
when I'm thinking about, OCD and ADD,
ADD
whatever.
too. The ADD that makes
all
OCD
all
don't
the
really
Ds
mix
and
that
letters.
spectrum. Yeah.
But I also see you. So when I think of perfectionism, I also think of delegation because people who are perfectionists can't delegate. But I see you as the ultimate delegator because you basically have somebody else running your business.
So cool, because that's why I fight it, right? You know, like think about it. When I was in the world of the books and the taxes, I cared about every single detail. I bet you're like that too. When you're actually doing something, you want it to be right. I mean, this is how I am with the podcast. I want that shit to be fucking perfect before I release it. And if something, isn't perfect, then I'm in the fritz, right? I'm in the hospital. I'm going crazy because it's not perfect and it can be, right? Anything I have control over, I'm trying to make perfect. So
yeah,
over
over the years, I think I've gotten better about that. I'm at the point where I'm like, if it's 70 to 80% right, I have to just let that be okay. But I will find myself going through HubSpot because we have the central inbox and I'll see team members going back and forth with the client. And I know there's a way faster way to resolve the issue. And I just try to hold back from jumping in because I know that it's not going to do any good for me to jump into every conversation. Because at the end of the day, they're going to get to the right answer and the right result, but it's just going to take them a lot longer. So I remember at my old CPA firm when I was a staff accountant, I had worked with multiple different partners, but there was one partner that I would go to and be like, yeah, retained earnings is off by 10,000. And he'd be like, oh, just plug it to miscellaneous. I love that guy. And then there had another partner, I'd go to her, or she would be, she would spend 10 hours to try to fix a $1 or something that was off by $1. So I think there's definitely an in between, but there's nothing worse than, I would say, working for somebody that's a perfectionist.
Well, there we go. I used to be both of those people. I used to be, well, now I think I'm the one who just says, oh, fuck it, just plug it, just move on to the next one. I definitely am that person, but I used to be the one where somebody brought a problem to me and then I would be there till 4 a.m. trying to fix it. And I would be in the rabbit hole, in the details, trying to fix everything. And if I'm already gone that far, I might as well get it perfect. I might as well get it down to the $10 instead of $100. Oh, I might as well just find that last $10 and figure that shit out. And I'd be there till 4 a.m. working on it. So
I think I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but I like things done right. If I know if it doesn't get done right, it's going to create problems later. I'm a big fan of a one-way workflow. So if someone does something and I know that it's going to end up being a problem later, or there's going to be questions from somebody later, I want it done correctly. But I know if it's not a big deal and I know it's not going to come back and bite us in the ass later, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, so let's kind of talk about the areas of perfectionism, because I like this topic. I kind of was thinking about it on my walk outside, and I was thinking, different parts of the firm have different areas that you want to improve. I don't think any part of your firm is going to be perfect ever, because there's always going to be ways to improve it. And if you expect perfection out of anything and everybody, you're going to set yourself up for failure. You're going to set yourself up for disappointment if you expect it to be perfect. So there is no perfect tax return. There's no perfect set of books. Get it out of your head that you think it's going to be perfect or the way that you've done it, right? If you delegate something, it's never going to be as good as you can do it. If you're teaching somebody how to do it the first time, then they don't have your worldview or your perspective. So it is never going to be like you do it if you're the one teaching them how to do it, until they're in your head, right? And it takes a while for them to learn everything on how to do anything. So
if you're a perfectionist, I don't think that you should run a business. I think you're never gonna. You should work for yourself.
Defeatist.
No, I mean, it's true. It really is true.
I have been a perfectionist, but I can change.
You can change, and people can work on this. But I'm just saying, like, as a CEO and owner of a business, you have to make decisions. You have to make quick decisions, and you have to move forward, and you have to delegate. Because if you're trying to hold on to everything and do it yourself, you're never going to be able to grow. You're going to be paralyzed.
Well, it's also the problem with that is sometimes you can't even start something because you're afraid of that it's got to be perfect. So you're afraid of it not being good, going through a stage of something not being exactly finished and not perfect. And you're afraid to test things out and afraid to try something new. Like, oh, let's try a different way of delivering tax returns this year. Not going to be perfect, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that's where you need to use your team's strengths, right? When you're when you're delegating things, and two, if you have ideas of like, for example, I'd say I'm more of a jump in and do it without thinking about all the different angles and then learning that way. Whereas Ashley is more of, hey, let's plan this all out. Let's think about it.
That's Chris.
Where we have where we balance each other out, right? Like if it was just her, it probably would take way too long to get done. If it was just me, it would just be like haphazard and jump in chaos. So I think you have to have different personalities. And then also when you're trying to delegate things, thinking about what are people's skill sets, because if you are trying to delegate like a client onboarding technology role, don't try to delegate that to somebody that's not good with systems or technology, right?
Mm-hmm. So you got to know your weaknesses, know your strengths, but then also, while you're doing something, always know that there's room for improvement and that you don't already have something that is perfect. Expect your systems to always need to be improved upon. This way you leave room for margin of error and for improvement, right? If you think you set up an automated system that's always going to work, just wait for a link to break or wait for something to change on the API, right?
Yeah, when you're writing out your processes, just start at like the skeleton level, knowing that everything that gets filled in is going to change. So you just have to set the guardrails and then constantly be evolving.
Yeah. So what's the definition of perfectionism?
I don't have the definition of perfectionism. I have some things that you might do if you're a perfectionist.
Well, because I asked, perfectionism is often defined as the need to be or appear to be perfect, even to believe that it's possible to achieve perfection. It is typically viewed as a positive trait rather than a flaw. People may use the term healthy perfectionism to describe or justify perfectionist behavior.
That's interesting. So I would say if I'm having surgery done, I would want that person 100% to be a perfectionist. As far as hiring team members, I want someone to be very detailed oriented, but I don't need them to be perfectionists because I think you're not going to be able to move forward if everything has to be perfect.
Right. I think we have turned that into a healthy distrust of that word, at least in our worldviews. But some people, yeah, you definitely want them to say they're a perfectionist and they want to get this right. Like if you hire an interior decorator, you want them to do that shit perfect. Like if you want them to say they're a perfectionist. If I hired you as an accountant, I don't want to hear that you're not a perfectionist, right? Like the person doing my work, I want them to be a perfectionist.
I just agree with you on that because if someone's billing me by the hour and they're going back to some of the
but I already know you have a fixed fee.
Some of the
partners, if I know you have a fixed fee and you're not billing me by the hour, then I'm already going to do my shopping in the right way. And if they're selling me a fixed fee, I want their fucking people to be perfect. I want them to spend extra time on it.
Right, and I think with the fixed fee, there are some firms out there that get too lazy and they just try to do things too fast, and so there's a balance, right? But going back to the partner I was talking about, so it was funny because I was a staff, and then there was a manager and a partner, and the manager and the partner were both terrible at making decisions and perfectionists. So I would go to one and she would be like, I don't know, go ask Gary. And then I'd go to Gary and Gary would be like, I don't know, go ask Barbara. And then finally I was like, you know what, guys, I'm just going to make the decision for this and move on because this is costing the client thousands of dollars for this very immaterial thing that we're looking at. So I just feel like we have to take into consideration what's important and what matters. And some things are so immaterial and insignificant, and we're spinning our wheels on it to make it perfect, and it's not adding value.
Yeah. No, that's a great point there too, because relating it back to perfectionism or, wanting things to be perfect, I can't make a decision sometimes because I'm afraid of making the wrong decision. And I'm very indecisive because I want everything to be perfect and it to line up, and every single possibility in this decision is going to be the right one. And I won't be leaving something else that's good on the table, right? The choice between two great things is a difficult one.
You know what I've been doing lately is whenever someone asks me, like on the team huddle meetings, Ashley's always like, okay, Nicole, like I'm like the final decision maker. So now I just say, what do you think? What do you think, Ramona?
Ooh.
What do you think, Ashley? What do you think, Jen? And then I never have to make a decision again. And
do you always agree with them, or do you disagree with them sometimes?
90% of the time I agree with them. And typically if I can't make a decision, it's typically because I don't have enough information. When somebody asks me something, my response, or when someone asks me to make a decision, my response is normally a question because I need more information. I can't make a decision unless I get all the information I need. So I do find that typically if it's a process question or a question about how we should handle a certain client, the person working with the client typically has a better solution than I would have being an outside party or not being involved in the day-to-day. So I do find that that's a really good strategy.
You're too far removed sometimes, right?
Too far removed, and it's like I don't know the right answer. So even though I'm ultimately the business owner and have the final say in the decision, I think we can all rely on our team to help us make decisions because they're closer to the action.
Mm-hmm. Very good points. Delegating sometimes involves a lot of trust that they're going to make the right call. And then it saves a lot of time in decision making back and forth too. If they can be, so I guess there's a certain tipping point where they're going to need somebody else's guidance and somebody else's help, but you first have to trust them to make up their own choices. And then if they can't make a decision, obviously, that's when it's time.
Yeah. So just getting into delegation and some strategies around that. So we talked about playing to your employees' strengths. And then I would say the next thing would be providing the right level of resources and guidance depending on the person. My management style is typically, here, let me give you something and see how you do. If I've never worked with you before, right? A new employee, I like to just give it to them with little instructions and see how they handle it. And then you start to learn people's strengths. So it's, hey, here's an SOP, here's a video, here's instructions on how to do it. So giving, especially a new team member, you need to give them guardrails. And then the other mistakes that I've done before is giving someone a big project and not checking in enough. And then you get to the end of the project and there's like thinking about giving someone a 0 file, right? And they have to do a year's worth of transactions. And then you check in 2 weeks later and they've done everything wrong. Definitely want to check in more regularly, especially if it's somebody new.
Yeah. Some people won't ask questions and they just go ahead and do it. And that's good.
Yes. Well,
you like that. But it's bad when you get into a situation like that and they've done it wrong and they're so confident that they've done it right.
Yeah. Some people are asked for, they'll go try to do everything themselves and then have it be wrong, whereas some people are over question asked. There's definitely a happy medium there. Yeah. But I've definitely been in that situation before where I've
been in a sad medium where I'm just, this is not good. Like now we got to redo all of this. And I hate to ask you to do it again because you just did it, but I'm going to ask you to do it again because you did it wrong,
Yeah, it's almost like raising a child, which I haven't done before, but I'm sure it's like you have to let them fail on their own. You want to give them as much help as you can to lead them in the right direction, but ultimately you have to let them fail because that's how they learn.
No, that's a good point. My mom was not like that with my brother. She never let him fail at anything. She tried to do everything for him, and it didn't serve him very well in the end, because then he can't fend for himself. I did fail. I did fuck a lot of things up in my life in order to learn and to become better, but that's because they let me. It was almost like, I don't know, it was different. So
that's
with
funny.
my kids, we just let them fuck up. I mean, if it was something that I knew, that's actually a good point too. Like as they're like with Julia, we kind of let her do her thing and she could be independent. She can make mistakes. She can make her own decisions poorly. So I'm just relaying it to make sure that I don't try to make decisions for them too,
Yeah. I think my brother hopefully doesn't listen to this one, but he definitely, like my mom did a lot. He was the first child, right? So my mom did a lot for him. And now like his girlfriend cleans for him, cooks for him. He's always like, I don't know why she's with me.
Well, let's revert that. So Juana takes 100% care of me, and so do my kids. Like they all take care of me, and I don't do anything for myself. My mom didn't do anything for me. My dad though did. So my dad did all the cooking, cleaning, and everything else. And I have never lifted a finger for anything, and I love Juana for it because she does everything in the house. So yeah, I'm like your brother almost. I don't know what people say.
At least you make money, yeah.
Yeah, I know. At least I'm paying the bills, right? So all right. So let's go back to perfectionism.
So going back to perfectionism, one last thing on delegation that I think is important is providing feedback. So if you're reviewing a tax return or reviewing a set of books, not just correcting it, is actually documenting what changes need to be made, and then having a call or a meeting with the person and going through them quickly. Here are the changes that need to be made, doing them together, and then finalizing it. Otherwise, they'll never learn, and they'll keep making the same mistakes.
Yeah. After action reviews.
Mm-hmm.
I hear Ron Baker talk about it all the time now.
That's more for projects, right?
Yeah. For projects, not for ongoing stuff. It shouldn't be. It should be for developing new systems and one-off type things or larger things, Perfectionism, I guess be aware of it, especially in your management team too. And I think it works both ways. It's a spectrum. I was going to say perspectrum. It's a spectrum of different places that you could be fighting or leaning into perfectionism. Let's say for your new branding, are you fighting perfectionism on your website? Is that why you haven't started it yet, or have you started it?
No, because we got the copy back and it was 18 pages, and we're like, we're not going to rewrite this for you. So we've been going. So they put it in a Word document, 18-page Word document, and we can't visualize what that's going to look like on the website. So
yeah, that's true.
We went back and forth with them. Finally got a call, and I said, "This is a terrible client experience. I can't rewrite this for you. I can't imagine what this is going to look on the website. There's got to be tools where you can, like, why can't we put this on the website with the visuals and the copy so we can actually visualize it?" But
are you afraid it's not going to be perfect?
I don't care if it's perfect. I just want it to get done, and I want it to sound good. I'm definitely, I can't be a perfectionist when it comes to that stuff because my brain doesn't work that way. I cannot do copy. I got overwhelmed. Ashley had to step in and say, like, look, I got this, because I've been through a website redesign 4 times, and every time I cannot handle it.
Well, every time I talk about your website, you don't like your website. As long as I've known you, your website's been in development or changing.
It's because, well, the first
we need to change
few
our
times,
website.
Because, well, the first few times I went cheap, right? And then this time I paid a lot of money to go through the branding. And the whole point of that was so I didn't have to design the website or come up with the copy. And then now we're in the same situation when it gets to the copy and the website. Somebody needs to solve this problem.
Paget paid one person to do the branding and everything, and then decided to go with CPA Site Solutions for the fucking website. Jesus Christ. Like, that's the big decision that they made. I've totally lost faith in them to make decisions now. CPA Site Solutions. Fucking break. That's like they're gonna do a Windows-based solution here. I'm sorry.
How many firms have the same exact website in different colors?
I know. But they went all out for the branding. They did great branding. So this is the logic, I think, because I think I halfway suggested it too, and they might be listening to me. So somebody else brought it up. We use CPA Site Solutions. I said, you know what? Fuck. Use anybody. Just go with CPA Site Solutions, but give them the right branding and give them the right tools and make sure they do this shit right so it doesn't look like everybody else's. So maybe...
And then they'll take the logo and slap it on there.
Oh, Jesus. And they'll put it on there and, like, you know... I just can't even... I can't describe it in words, too. Like, if I tried to describe the layout of a website design in words, I would just think, you know, I can describe it in relation to, like, if you imagine opening up a website in 2008, this is what it would look like.
Oh, like, I got so
and 2008 is a
out.
long time ago when it's a website. Like, if you, that was like, oh man, because there's different iterations of how websites decided to change and be tech forward. Now, what's in is minimalist and dark mode.
Yes,
see a lot
so
of
that was the point. We're like 18 pages. It was like, nobody's gonna read this. This is
You
so
want
much
it to be
copy,
as little-
and
yeah.
everything I hear is less copy is better.
Less
But they're
copy.
the experts, and so they're arguing with us, and we're arguing with them, and we're like, we don't care about SEO. We don't care about all this other shit. We literally just want
People are going to find you in other places.
Yeah, we're
and then end up
heavily
on your site.
referral based, heavy LinkedIn. We don't have people coming to our website.
Here's the thing these days is if you market effectively in the right way, you don't need the fucking SEO because they're going to be on social networks, and social networks are telling you what you want. You don't have to ask. You don't have to ask, what do I need to find today? Ask my account, ask Jeeves, like find it. Like, so that was where everything was at. When I started doing this back in like 2011, it was Google. And you wanted people to find you on the website. You wanted, and to a large degree, it still is. But I think the clients that we want and the maturity of our businesses, we want people to be looking at our website because they heard about it from somewhere else. And we're almost back there because those are going to be the right clients. Those are going to be the ones that you want to work with. The ones that find you on Google might not be the greatest. They might get the wrong impression because they're searching for what they want.
Yeah, and I
you
think
know?
there's a time and place for that eventually. But right now, I mean, we have a small team, so we can only onboard so many clients, and our leads come from referrals, and we have our pipeline is perfect right now. So it's not a priority for me. And they just didn't listen to us. We told them several times that that's not a priority for us. We would rather have a nice questionnaire on there. And they're like, oh, that's too many questions for them to fill out. We're like, yeah, that's what we want. We want to defer. We don't want a bunch of random people. We want a specific person. If they can't fill out this intake form, we don't want to work with them. But it was really frustrating because they kept arguing with us about what we wanted. And I'm like, I know you guys are the experts in this, and I'm happy to take your feedback, but there are two things that we want, and I feel like you're not listening to us. So anyway,
You said
rant.
pipeline, priority, and perfect all together. I was going to interrupt you, but you were on a roll. So,
Pipeline. Was that on our list?
Yeah, well, we can talk about pipeline one day. It's in the pipeline. Pipeline is in the pipeline. It'll eventually make its way out of the clog of words that we have filled up right now. We got some good words coming up, folks. Stay tuned for our other. See, that's the one thing with perfection. I wanted to make this perfect, and that's why I stalled us delivering the first episode of Nick's Tips, and we recorded quite a few before we got our groove in and we figured out what, if it was going to be good. Never perfect. We're always improving, but I think these episodes have come out pretty good over time.
They definitely got
Kenji's was a
better.
mess. First one was a mess. The next one should be good.
Is it? The first one's okay.
It was
Other
good.
than the fact that Kenji was in it.
I was going to direct listeners to go ahead and leave us a review. Please write something in Apple. I love those. I should read one. We
You
just got a
should.
review.
Yeah, you should.
You know what? I'm gonna read them.
Words of affirmation is my love language. So just
Words of affirmation. Oh, you know
No, I'm
it.
just
Me
kidding.
too.
Quality
Like
time's my number one.
May I have your attention, please? That I just got that. You know the Eminem song where he's like, "May I have your attention, please?" It's somebody that wants attention. That's it. It's not like the teacher saying, "May I have your attention, please?" It's somebody that wants the spotlight, and he's just like,
Are you going to read a review?
"Yeah, Chi-Town Mick." I think it's Mick. Chi-Town Mick. It's M-I-C-K. Is that a Mick? Shout out to Mick. Modern accounting firm.
Somebody from Chicago.
Yeah. This quickly became my favorite accounting podcast. If you want to innovate, progress, and succeed as a modern accountant, then this is the podcast for you. I love that. That is a great review. Thank you, Chi-Town Mick. Got another one? Best accounting podcast, Christopher B. These guys are the Beastie Boys of accounting podcasts. Creative, A+ content and guests. Thanks, Christopher B. Oh, here's another one. Great accounting podcast. Great accounting podcast for those in client and accounting service space. Good review. Thanks. So, C. Williams 7829 writes,
Why is this
Must
7829?
I know.
He couldn't come up with a more original name. Come on, Chris.
Come on, stop picking on it. All right, stop picking on C. Williams. Must listen if modern accountant. Scott and his awesome co-hosts are must listen to if you are trying to build or scale a modern accounting or tax firm. What I love most is how tactical he and Nick's get in their podcast, jumping all into the weeds, talking about things like pod structure, details on pricing, etc. And then he spaces it out, and then keep up the awesome work. Thanks, C. Williams.
Thanks, Chris.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, we'll close it out. Thanks, Nix.
See you, Scott.
Wow, what a great episode. And wouldn't it be great if you could earn CPE credit for that? Now you can. Visit earmarkcpe.com to sign up for free and earn free CPE credit for listening to this show. That's earmarkcpe.com.